Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block here on Bossman Network. I'm your host, the Light Excited Eddie. Joining me is the one, the only Bossman himself, Mr. Corey Dirrig. Hello, good sir.
Hey, Ed. How's it going this wonderful Monday morning for me?
That is true. It is our last episode, everybody, of the year. We normally would have things planned, but I think this one is just going to be a really old school like Power Block episode where we don't have nothing planned. We're just gonna have a great discussion.
There's a lot to reflect on this year, and just it's just gonna be one of those end of year kind of reflection episodes, and then we'll do Ed and I will do our games of the year type episode, the first episode back, and we'll go into the year ahead and the normal stuff. But man, this whole end of year thing kind of snuck up on me. I'm not gonna lie to you, Ed. This whole tomorrow I still have this debacle of like, how do I fit in Way Forward and Chase into the same time slot, which I am just going to email Way Forward and say I'm going to be about 10 or 15 minutes late to the interview.
Oh, so you're going to record Chase?
Yeah, I got to make sure it's on point and on cadence and everything. And it's okay. It's the Bossies, man. They're coming together. I've recorded with Todd and Mark tonight. I recorded with Asa and one of our writers, Sophie, I recorded with, and Matt and I recorded for about an hour and a half on Saturday. That was yesterday. Chris Davis from Black Gamer League. Dude, had a wild time with Nick and Brody from WASD and Beyond. Man, we're gonna do a bloopers reel this year, I think, for the Bossies. Spoiler alert, I guess. There's this really funny part of Nick freaking out because he like messed up a read, and I think that's gonna open the blooper section.
Oh wow!
Dude, his reaction was so funny, classic. I recorded a lot with this guy named Eddie V. Probably cut that from the show.
What? No.
I recorded with Tristan Bellawala, who is the combat scenario writer for Helldivers 2, and he's working on some webtoons and some indie games now, and that was cool.
Oh, he left the.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was only there on contract.
Okay.
But it was funny though because he actually recorded his from the Game Awards in front of a green screen. That was fun.
Nice.
It was fun.
We'll talk about the Game Awards, everybody. Trust me.
Will we? I haven't watched them yet, so.
Well,
all I heard was that Elden Ring or Shadow of the Erdtree pretty much got snubbed from everything, and everybody seemed very happy about that.
Yeah. It was.
Not that Erdtree is bad, everybody. Just that Elden Ring already won. Give somebody else a shot. Which,
right?
Shockingly, Astrobot. I think it's a nice story for Astrobot to win, just because of the history of that team coming out of Studio Japan, trying to make Astrobot a thing, and plus like the way it celebrates PlayStation's history without shoving it in your face during the 30th anniversary of PlayStation. It's just a really nice story to conclude on. And I think everybody loves Astrobot, and like nobody, like it's not one of those games where somebody's gonna be like, this should have won. Final Fantasy should have won. I think that was my annoying gamer voice, by the way.
No, I agree with you because I voted for Astrobot for Game of the Year. Because I really think that it earned it. Like I said, playing it at PAX just a demo, I was just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a Game of the Year contender. And then just seeing the love of it, from just like like all in the community, video game community, whether you just been like an Xbox fan, a Nintendo fan, PC fan, if you played it or got a little glimpse of it, you're gonna be like, oh, the tight controls, the funny layer, level design, um, like good puzzles, the cool characters that you remember from PlayStation history with first party and third party. Like Astrobot really deserved it, and like we said, it's another Nintendo game that Sony created, and even with the director saying. Or producer saying, I grew up playing this gray box. Everybody know who it is, but he did say Super Mario Brothers 3 uh in his speech, and so it was just like real recognized real in a sense. And I don't know what Sony thought of that or anything, but I could definitely say like it was really well earned um for it. So um
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I think it I think with the Game Awards, definitely with the trailers, finally Akami's getting a sequel. I'm so happy about that. Surprised that Onimusha is coming back. I'm reading a story about Capcom is thinking about returning back to their dormant IP. So games that came out and some got sequels, some did it. But they just been ignored. They just been, haven't been had any new games in it. So, Akami and Onimusha, who had like about 4 games in that series, is getting a new one. And so now it's a chance to be like, okay, Beautiful Joe 3 may actually happen. I was thinking about that. Dino Crisis might actually happen. It's like Capcom is having this Capcom and Sega, I should say, is having this like Nintendo reemergence with their games. Like some of the franchises that has been in dormant, Nintendo kind of like went back or have introduced to or and let other developers make in that franchise. It looks like it's feeling that kind of way. And that's it. Cause
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, it's there's a lot of cool thing. Like Onimusha, I'm shocked. I knew it was that though, and it said Capcom, and I knew it wasn't going to be Monster Hunter. And like I saw like the samurai warrior character like kneeling there, and like you saw the red kind of ghosts, yokai. I guess are they ghosts? Are they yokai kind of?
They're yokai. They're spirit. They're like evil spirits and
Yeah.
everything. Well, the I guess the Kimetsu thing is by Capcom, right? That one game that Capcom was doing for Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even know if that game is out yet or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But when they first showed that trailer, everybody thought that was Onimusha. But it was something else. And so that's why it was surprising to see. Oh, they went back and made Onimusha because I watched it. I'm like, oh, this is that Kimetsu game or that one that Capcom was doing for Xbox, and it was just like, oh no, Onimusha, what the heck? Because when he put on the mask and everything, I'm like, wait a minute, Onimusha never had a mask, so it was kind of like it was kind of weird to see this um this to see that trailer, and I'm like, oh, so yeah. And then with Kamiya Clovers, I'm like, oh, so he opened back his own studio up again. I'm like, wow, he's working with Capcom. um I wonder how Platinum Games feel about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not up to them anymore, right? I mean,
Right.
uh, but yeah, man, it's I mean the new Witcher trailer looks interesting, dude. Naughty Dog's new IP looks. I mean, I don't know how it'll play, but
I'm
the
holding
vibe,
so
the
much
vibe,
judgment for that.
I know, but you don't like Naughty Dog, which is fine. But
No. I love Naughty Dog. I respect them. I literally did it. I have a boss Spencer about Naughty Dog. I think my thing is it's just like, man, I'm like, I fear this is going to go to this soul territory, and I'm like, I just don't want it to go because I'm like, this
I don't
game,
I don't
the
think so. That's not really their thing, man.
yeah, I'm like I like the rest. I love how they're playing with the red intergalactic everybody. I'm like I'm loving this main character, and just how her behavior and everything. It's just when that 101 fight looked like it was about to happen, I'm like, oh please don't go this route. I'm like, Sony, do not make them go into this route. I mean, I'm going to get it. I'm going to play it when it comes out. Because I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. Naughty Dog makes great games. I'm just reserving judgment that it doesn't go in. Just like how you don't like rogue like games. I'm like, the soul like style games, I'm just like, this is getting like overpopulated. And the ideas of it feels like it's never changing or evolving. Um and it just feels like this genre or this style of gameplay is what people want, and it's like, no, not everybody want this.
Yeah.
Like I would be surprised. I'm like, okay, if this plays like Tomb Raider or mixed in with like the Legend of Zelda 3D games, cool, I'm down for it. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but like these 101 kind of style, like I don't think they're up to doing the 101 style, or give me something that's going to be like action packed. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, if I feel like I feel like it's going to go in the Stellar Blade route, and I'm just like,
I don't know. I love the vibe. I think a
yeah,
lot of also like this is a discussion we can probably have for like an expansion pass topic, which I think would be
hmm
really interesting. But like, I mean, in that 3-minute trailer, they showed 4 product placement ads for Porsche, Adidas, Sony, clearly,
hmm
and
yeah,
there was another one too that I don't remember what it was. But like, to cover some of these budgets, are they going to start doing product placement?
they
I mean,
uh,
that's like a big question I have coming off that trailer.
I well, because it's Sony, probably so. Um, but I think it's just to capture that time because they're saying this is their ideal of like 1986.
Yeah. So
So
it was just just an idea of, I don't know. I
and
just thought
I
maybe that
wouldn't
would be a,
and I wouldn't be surprised with Sony having some of their products in those things, like Porsche have Sony put in like a Blu-ray player or something in their car or sound system and stuff. Because Sony does other things outside, like I said, of music and movies and games. Like they actually have um hardware outside of TVs
yeah.
and everything. So like they got the like CD players and Blu-ray, not Blu-ray players, but Bluetooth radios and stuff like that. So I wonder if that's like a trade or something.
Yeah. So I was just it's one of those things that I just noticed, and I was like, well, maybe I
hmm
bet that's probably something that's going to happen in a strange way at some point. But I mean, they've been trying to do that for a while now, right? With like Xbox 360, like racing games, like Burnout.
Yeah.
Remember they had those dynamic ads of like, I don't know, Barack Obama campaign things, and
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those.
Yeah. But like, congratulations to all the winners at the Game Awards, and a lot of people were really happy with this year's Game Award. Jeff Keighley addressed like the layoffs. He actually let people have their moment to speak.
Did he though?
Yeah, he actually did. There like no one really got played off. He let people like come up there and speak. Um, even with people, even with the Japanese like producers and directors who came up there, and they had their translators and stuff, that he gave them time, so when they say something, they could go and translate and everything.
Yeah. Oh well, I just had a
I
strange
I think
feeling about it.
I think the big surprising thing is, of course, like Nintendo, um, didn't win anything, which is
But did they deserve anything? They didn't. I mean, they had a lot of great games, but I don't think there's anything that they really deserve to.
I, I I think they deserve kind of family game, because I don't think there's a lot of families playing like Astrobot. I could see families playing like Mario Party Jamboree and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, I guess.
but I'm like Nintendo. I didn't expect them to win anything. I thought that Echoes of Wisdom would get some kind of recognition at least, but even with their trailers and stuff at the Game Awards, but Echoes of Wisdom, which they still were pushing, which was really cute, was really nice. Um, I kind of feel like Nintendo did their sale numbers, they got their games out, and they put out a mission saying, thank you for supporting us and hope to see you in the future. So that means that they're getting ready for their next system and
Hmm.
everything. I think this year, um with Blatro and Astrobot being kind of the two biggest games of the year, with Final Fantasy 7 and Erdtree also being like recognized, I really think uh Sony, um, I think Sony took Game of the Year because of how great Astrobot was. And it was good to see that Hellblade 2 uh won won some awards and everything. Cause like even Microsoft didn't really get that much recognition neither. Uh, I'm just glad that they won some awards for that game.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad to see
So
that too. Um, yeah, it was an interesting year. Nah, that's I feel like that would be sugarcoating it if we didn't at least acknowledge that it's been a year.
I can say, from a Nintendo perspective, I wasn't mad with these Game Awards. I was listening to part of it and watching some of it while I was at work. I kind of feel like I said earlier that if Nintendo doesn't win anything, that's fine. They're getting ready for their next system. They're like in business mode, um, marketing mode, trying to make sure that everything is right and stuff don't get leaked. Um, I think they're trying to prepare for like when we roll out with this system and this announcement, we want to make sure that we roll it out the right way under, that we give it our, um, that we give it our focus and everything. While still letting people know that, hey, we still got games coming out for Switch, and hopefully you guys will be excited to play it
Yeah,
for 2025 and beyond.
yeah.
You know.
So yeah, Nintendo's it's here, man. I know they haven't announced anything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's here, man. It's happening. It's coming.
Because I think that's the thing with Nintendo. Like I said, when they're quiet for a reason because they're busy. They're planning on something. And when they start talking, any podcast,
Hmm.
video game podcast, starts talking. because even some dedicated shows be like, okay, Nintendo is doing this and this, what is Sony and Microsoft and blah 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 whatever. But I'm like, when Nintendo gets to talking, Nintendo's gonna get to talking, and I think that's why like Sony and Microsoft and even PC, like with Valve and stuff, they're waiting to see what Nintendo could do. Because if they do something really that's going to capture everybody, they're going to try to get the idea, how do we match that, or how do we top that? How do we take their idea and make it our own and kind of make it better with what we offer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the next couple months, because it'll be here before you know it, man. It's gonna be something. I'm so excited that we get to cover a new system.
Yes. Corey, I'm gonna ask you something. Because the news came out that now Nintendo owns Monolith Soft 100%.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about that? Were you I thought they already owned it when they bought the company. I didn't know that it was different stakes, like stock wise, that Nintendo owned, and I guess that they still have Monolith Soft, but like now Nintendo owns them 100%. I thought they bought them full out when they purchased them.
So I mean, it's a very similar situation to the Pokemon Company, except that they owned more of Monolith than than the Pokemon Company, right? So but it was the same type of deal where like, we own the majority of you can't put it on other platforms, we want to make sure that you're giving us what we need, and you can still have some sort of independence, but you're and this kind of just feels like, hey, we got new pins, we should probably sign that paperwork now.
Yeah.
And I think the success of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 helped a lot, right? I think that game stands above a lot of the other. It's a unique JRPG.
Yes.
Right, where it's like, it's not Final Fantasy, but it's not like Ys, right? It's that this nice kind of very nice middle ground for Nintendo. They have new iconic characters that they can kind of pull from and have, and I think they made the right move, kind of folding them in house before anything happens, right? So
yeah.
Plus now they now probably fully own the Xenoblade name. By owning them, they own the IP. So yeah.
And I think they still they still will allow Monolith Soft work with Square Enix to get those Xeno games on their system.
I bet Nintendo somewhere in the not so distant future. Dude, they got Bat and Kados. You're telling me they're not going to try to go get Xenosaga?
Oh yeah.
Nobody cares. No, I think I've met two people that care about Bat and Kados, and one of them is Shane Kelly, and the other one is you. So like, I don't. They went out and got that. What's keeping? And I'm not trying to like shame you or Shane. I think it's great that these games appeal to. There's room for these types of games to exist. I want them to exist, and I want them to exist forever. But like, if you're gonna spend the money to get Bat and Kados from Bandai Namco, like, go get Xenosaga.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one everybody wants. Like, I know like there's a group of people that want Xenogears, and Xenogears was great at the time, right? It was a really interesting mechanically RPG, right? And the fact that it kind of ties indirectly into Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would probably be smart to go get that. But like, also, Xenosaga characters appear in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as what do you call it? The shields. What do you call them? I forget what they're called, but they show up as like bonus ones, and it's like what's her name? God, why can't I remember any of these? Cosmos and Telos are both there, right?
Yeah.
And they are both like characters that you can go get, and it just doesn't make sense that they don't have all of these games at this point.
I think it's because Nintendo has a very strong relationship with Namco. Like there's no ands, it's a bust about Bandai Namco, I should say. So I wouldn't be surprised if they work with them to get Xenosaga. Square Enix and Nintendo have a great relationship. And kind of maybe when getting better and better. I'm like, they got like Square Enix got so many characters in Smash alone, and everything. And with Dragon Quest 3, the game is selling so much on Switch here was selling so much here in America and Japan, that's a good fit for them. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo definitely continue to work with a lot of these Japanese developers and be like, yeah, let's get that. Let's work on something to make that happen. You know, even with them working with Level 5 with Professor Layton and stuff. Like, I think Nintendo definitely, with all the money that they have and success they have with the Switch, I think those companies will be willing to work with them to be like, okay, for your next system, we predict that it's going to be successful again. So we definitely want to get our games on there. If you want to do something with Xenogears, let's remake it and still include the old version. You know, or let's make a deal like you did with Platinum Games when they did Wonderful 101 and be able to put it out on other platforms. Like I literally even with Koei Tecmo with some of their games, like I think that's probably gonna happen, or it should happen in the future.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think it'll happen. I think it's a matter of when, not if. And I think Xenoblade's going to continue, which I think very clearly it's going to, especially after the tease from Xenoblade Chronicles X, right? Like at the end, there's very clearly some sort of character showing up from the other games, it feels like. So it feels like they're connecting those worlds now, and there will be a game that kind of brings it all back around again. Yes. I mean, I know 3 already did that, but I wonder. You know what would be really cool is if Nintendo went and got the IP from them, the Xenosaga IP, and had one of Monolith's teams go through and like make the series that they wanted to make originally. Because originally it was supposed to be 6 games.
Yeah.
And they kind of, the first game came out, and then halfway through production of the second game, they decided to make it a trilogy instead of 6 games. So like 2 is kind of 1.5 games, and then they tried to shove 3.5 games into the last game, and it was like, tried.
Yeah, because I think the one thing with the Xenosaga franchise, and people do have to think about this, is more cutscenes than gameplay for all 3 games. Like they're long games, it's because of the cutscenes for it.
Yeah. So, it's cool though. I think I am ready to play some. Look, after all these bosses are recorded and edited and kind of put together and put in a in a holding pattern until I get everything from everybody else, like I'm taking this break and just gonna try to play some games. And Xenoblade 1, I think, is going to be the first one.
Yeah, I'm gonna start it when you start it. Like if you let me know that, hey Ed, I'm starting Xenoblade 1, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's in my
Plus,
Switch. Let's go.
theoretically, the way we're changing things for boss rush stuff and kind of filling out expansion pass and doing what we've been doing, like I think there's going to be hopefully more time to play games and less time, doing the extra stuff.
Yeah.
So again, we'll see, but that's the idea. So
yes.
Yeah, Xenoblade. Well, I have a bunch of games, like a list of games that I would like to kind of get through this year, like a series, and they're not necessarily new games. Which we're gonna play the new Nintendo games too, right? Like
Oh yeah.
that's the ultimate goal here is to cover and play and throw some stuff up online and say, look, here's the first 30 minutes of Donkey Kong. It's cool. It looks better than the Wii version. I guess you should buy it. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, like that's the kind of stuff we want to do. And, we've been trying to figure out what to do with Expansion Pass for a long time. And then the Boss Rush Plus stuff was kind of its own separate thing. And then Book Club was its own separate thing. And we were trying to do too many separate things. And I think, transitioning Expansion Pass to a company wide brand and not just a Pow Block brand.
Yeah.
I think it's a smart move. And it's going to allow us to be more flexible and do more. And, Ed, you and I have tried a post show. We've tried the pre-show thing. We're just going to do an extra episode, extra exclusive episode for patrons at this point, right? That's the idea with the one-up episode, I think is what we're going to call it. We're going to, the boss rush. This is the idea. And I need to talk to the rest of the other side to confirm this, but like for the Boss Rush podcast, we put a pre-show up every week, right? It's about 15 minutes on Sundays for patrons. And it's people like it, but my idea now is like, okay, well, Saturdays are going to be are definitely going to be for a set of expansion passes, but I think it's going to be 2 Boss Rush pre-shows smushed together into one show twice a month. So like we'll still record the pre-show, but we're going to smush 2 of them together and release it twice a month on Saturdays now. A one-up episode of this show and book club, and that'll be the Saturday expansion pass. And then the other side of expansion pass will be like interviews and other spoiler casts and bonus discussions and guests and those types of things. So I'm trying to like figure out how not to put too much on the feed at one time, but still provide that extra balance content of exclusive and early access content versus so that's my goal right now. And yeah, I think we're in a good spot. I think we're in a good space. Also, I still really want to move this show to Mondays. Like, put this show out on Mondays and put the Boss Rush podcast out later in the week. I don't know how dumb that is.
Like switching days, in a sense.
Yeah, like I would love to leave Wednesdays open. And my idea would be to release this show. The ideal situation, well, the ideal situation would be to record this show on like Thursdays, release it on Fridays for patrons, and Mondays for everybody else. But that's a lot to like turn around. So that's my plan. So that way, like the ideal thing would be to release this on Mondays and the Boss Rush podcast on Thursdays and have an expansion pass come out on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And That way, like either Tuesday would be an expansion pass day and Saturday an expansion pass day would be ideal. And then Thursday would be Boss Rush podcast, or Friday. I don't know which one. Probably Thursday. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to change anything right off the bat, because I know people depend on the show on Wednesdays. But the problem with that is that sometimes we record the show on Wednesday for the following week. Sometimes we record it on Monday night. Sometimes we record it on Sunday night. And like the news is really out of date, however way you slice it, by the time it comes out on Wednesday. So like, I want to eliminate the gap between recording and release because of that, because it's a news show ultimately at the end of the day, right? Like, yeah, we screw around and tell dumb jokes and, you know, whatever the heck we're doing right now, right? But like, when we do have things to talk about, I want to narrow that gap, especially when the new console is coming out. You know, like at the very latest, record it on Sunday night and release it on Monday morning, you know, or Monday at noon. I think I'm gonna move the release times out a little bit. Just because I've been trying to teach myself about how different time zones work with podcasts and notifications, and the optimal time to release your podcast is actually on East Coast time, noon of all times, because, you know, it's even though it's noon on the East Coast, like it's still morning for everybody else moving backwards, right?
So it's like 12.
So like but everybody's awake, and, you know, theoretically most people, you know, people who have like the 9-to-5 jobs, right, are all active and in their workflow. And so when they have their phones on them, they will get the notification that the podcast is ready. Whereas if you release it, you know, when we release it at 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time. So like that's going out to the West Coast at 7 a.m. But by the time they wake up and get in their routine, they could have like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other notifications on their phone. And the podcast announcement could get buried, and, you know, it's a little thing, and it probably doesn't mean a whole lot at the end of the day, but like any extra, you know, notification to say, hey, our show is up. You know, plus like we've talked a little bit behind the scenes, and like your schedule seems to be evening out. Yeah. And so we'll have a little bit more of a consistent recording schedule. So it'll be easier to record guests and fill-ins. And, you know, I know Stephanie wants to jump on a couple times a month, and I would love to have Lasby on a couple times, you know. And, you know, got to have Roger on. I love Roger. Roger, schedule your recording for the Bossies. I'm going to smack you. Not really. Roger's great. Gamerheads podcast. You should check it out. Except when Roger is on. I'm just kidding. I just like messing with Roger because he's such a good lighthearted fellow.
He is.
And he's got some good jokes. He's just a nice guy. Where were we? Oh, Patreon stuff. So I will have all that stuff updated by next weekend, I hope. My hope is just to have all the recordings and stuff for the Bossies done this week, so I can just sit down and edit over the course of the Christmas break and not have to worry about, oh, we need to record this. Oh, we need to record that. Oh, and, you know, if we need to re-record anything, that gives us time to re-record things. I might re-record some of my lines in my video anyway, because I'm going to bring home one of those fun new 4K cameras from work that are like the cinema ones.
Cinematic ones.
Yeah. with like the lapel mics that are like real nice mics. So,
which I was one because when I was looking for a 4K camera, I'm like, I don't think they even sell 4K cameras like for laptops and stuff, like the little like Logitech kind of
no,
ones.
most of those are 1080p. At that point, you might as well just get a stand for like a Blackmagic kind of 4K camera,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, or something like Laron has. So,
I wonder would they ever make one.
I mean, I'm
Like,
sure at some point when the technology gets cheaper and they can shove that stuff into a camera, maybe, but
mm-hmm,
like people,
1080.
I feel like people who need more than 4K do more than just the basic Zoom call, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're investing in those larger cameras. Uh, Something I should invest in is a new camera, because this Logitech is it's the first webcam I ever purchased when we were doing Pow Block for DNA. So that tells you what that is.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's a ooh.
that's the camera I'm using still.
Oh wow. So it has history.
And this is the mic I bought while we were when we transitioned out of DNA to do Nerds Gone Rogue full time. So
And
that's what this I need. My goal is to upgrade equipment this year too. That's the other goal.
It's so weird that you talk about upgrading equipment because, like,
Because I
with
never do.
well, definitely with optional opinion, I definitely had to get new mics. Um, I had to get mixer. Like I had about 2 or 3 mixers. Um, I had to use like my iPod or my Zoom or my phone to do like the music break and everything. Cause like a lot of the tracks I couldn't just pull anywhere and mix it in. So the magic of optional opinion, everybody, was that everything was recorded all at once. So
Mhm.
I only time I did any kind of editing is if I had to guess. But with that, I had to um I had to take the audio from Skype and everything and like put it through my mixer and treat it like it's a music track and everything. So there was times like when I had to fade out music and stuff. I had to fade it out on my mixer and then like pause it and then cut it back up and then jump on and talk and everything. And while everything is still recording.
Mhm.
And turn everything into an MP3 file and stuff. Like I had to like do some wizardry to get optional opinion to sound like the way that it is, and then not realizing that the sound kept changing almost on every episode, even though I kept the levels the same. And it was just like, especially when my computer couldn't do as much.
Mhm.
So, um, getting new cameras and mics and stuff, like, you know, upgrading your equipment if you have the budget to do it is always a welcome thing, of
Mhm.
updating it.
Yeah. Um. So that's on my list, is to upgrade some equipment, specifically for home use. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the travel stuff, just, I've learned that I can just use my phone and a Zoom recorder and some wired mics, and just set
Yeah.
it on a table, and we can do it that way. We don't need huge expensive things, right? I,
Right.
I don't think so. I think the phone camera did a perfectly serviceable job at PAX West. Yes.
Yes.
And you know,
I do want to get like I wonder, like the interview cameras, like how they used to have the little tapes and you would hold it and they would speak into it. I wonder if they sell that with like SD cards, like
why
or
don't you
micro
just use the
SD
voice
cards.
memo thing on your phone? The voice
because
memo app.
because I have ran out of space for my phone,
We'll delete
and
the old ones.
I have deleted, and I still don't got enough space because of the updates and everything.
You're the worst.
I need to get a new phone. That's what I need to do. I know I'm
Yeah.
the worst. I can't help it. I'm going to always be the worst in your eyes.
And
It is what it is.
well, stop being the worst.
Even if I get better, you still gonna call me the worst.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to this week at work. I've been tasked to research cameras and microphones for use at home and work office. So hopefully I can get a set for home and see how that all works out.
I'm assuming for like the podcast stuff
and
everything.
Yeah.
Goals. It's good to have goals. I will always say that. So yeah. So Corey, we have had multiple Nintendo Directs, Indie Directs, third party ones. Did you have a memorable moment in a Nintendo Direct through this year that you enjoyed?
Oh man. I mean, them announcing a new Zelda game was pretty big. And then the Metroid Prime 4 trailer was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Like that was really cool. I mean, this year's directs, I really gotta think about this year's directs. But like I think that like Nintendo put out a lot of great games and they had a lot of great announcements in these directs. I'm not 100% sure if there's anything that I have really. It's not like a Link's Awakening remake moment, right? Or like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild first reveal moment, right? Nothing really like that. But Fantasian coming to Switch was an awesome thing, just because I love Mistwalker. That's another game I need to play and finish too. Is Fantasian. I liked what I played initially, but I've been so head down on these bosses that I can't do anything else until I get this done. Like that's my mindset at this point. Games are my reward for getting the bosses done. That was a really awesome moment. But the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond trailer was, I mean, that thing, I can't believe that thing's running on the Switch. Like it's one of those things. And like, I know Digital Foundry went through and they're like, yeah, it's running at 900p, 60 frames a second. It's kind of running on an upgraded version of that Metroid Prime remastered engine, which is a nice engine too, by the way.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, a new Mario and Luigi game announcement was awesome. But like nothing really stood out until really that Xenoblade Chronicles X. I mean, that wasn't even part of a direct. So like,
yeah,
which is crazy to me that they didn't put that in the direct or save it for the Game Awards or something, although like putting your stuff at the Game Awards costs money and Nintendo knows they don't have to spend money to drop a trailer like that. So like, why would you? So plus it creates extra hype. I feel like if Nintendo just drops trailers on a random Thursday and you're just like, whoa, what's this?
I know definitely for me it's the Marvel vs. Capcom. Really did not expect that. Like, that took I think that took the whole fighting community, but then that actually took the whole summer direct, because everybody was just like, it was all about the reactions that this series was coming back, and it was done like it's the arcade games and everything. You know, uh Donkey Kong being announced in January, and then like you said, seeing the Metroid Prime, Echoes of Wisdom, starting to direct off with Brothership, um like that definitely, that summer direct was like one of the strongest. And then just seeing like the indie us talking about the indie and partner direct together, like that works so well. In so many cases, just like wow. Nintendo has a lot. Actually, Nintendo, the indies and third party do have a lot for 2025, and we have a lot to look forward to, at least up to next summer,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Um, so it's gonna be like I think definitely February is gonna be a big deal for all the other platforms than it is gonna be for Nintendo. Um, but it's just but regardless of what comes out from Nintendo of early 2025, it's gonna be such a great year, and just stuff that we still don't know. And for a lot of us, we know that Nintendo's in their porting phase. Xenoblade Chronicles X, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong's game.
Donkey Kong Country Returns
Yeah. I was
HD.
about to say I was about to say Tropical Freeze, but I'm like Tropical Freeze is out. Um, which is another thing with all these Donkey Kong games coming out. I'm assuming we're probably gonna get a new one. I think they're trying to get that whole catalog on Switch.
I think it is
So
now. If you include the NSO stuff, I think it is. I think the NES Donkey Kong games, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, the entire thing is there, right? The only one that is not is Donkey Kong 64, right? So because it is tied to Rare somehow, even though
yeah,
Nintendo owns Donkey Kong. So, but Microsoft's been really good about putting stuff on the Switch. So, like, I mean, both Banjo games are on there. Perfect Dark, GoldenEye.
yeah, just Jet Force Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, all the Rare games are from 64 are on there. So,
yeah.
although I wish Microsoft would just put Rare Replay on there and just call it a day, because those are the best versions of Banjo Kazooie. That's the best version of Perfect Dark, Conquer. You know,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did it.
I
It
wonder
was
if that'll
just
be a Switch. I wonder if that'll be a Switch 2 launch title. That would be awesome. That would be such a
I
cool launch title.
I think Microsoft would be. I think they would definitely benefit from releasing some games.
I mean, you think about all the games Microsoft could release on Switch 2, just like at a cadence the way that Nintendo released their games
Yeah.
the first year. Like you could release Rare Replay, like Psychonauts 1 and 2 you could release. You could definitely do like maybe even something like Gears Tactics. Um,
Ooh, that would be a good one to do. Definitely on the
mhm.
go.
Yeah, Grounded's already there. Pentament's already there. I mean, you could even try Sea of Thieves if their online stuff was working.
Mm-hmm.
Hi-Fi Rush you could put on there, which would be awesome. Uh, I mean, you could even go through their back catalog and do stuff like Dishonored 2.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Which I
the
I
first
think
Wolfenstein game, maybe finally.
I think
I mean, you could put
ZeniMax.
Indiana Jones on there. Let's get Indiana Jones on there. Come on.
Uh, I
Gosh, dude,
I
if they
think.
released a physical of Indiana Jones on Switch too, I would be first in line for that.
Oh yeah. I have to say, like I think literally for Xbox physical, I think I had to have them shipped to my house now from Best Buy, because like Indiana Jones, in a Great Circle, I had to have that shipped, which actually took me 2.5 days to install that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, okay, great. Um, I had to delete some games actually off my system because I brought Justice League, Suicide Squad, and I brought Halo, the Master Chief Collection. It was like $10. I'm like, even though I got the physical, I'm like, I'll just throw everything, since this is like kind of like the definitive version. Since they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have all 6 games, I might as well just get that. Um, but like Xbox. Sorry, everybody, for that side tangent. I think Xbox and Nintendo. I think they're going to have a bigger year together when their next console come out, and I think Sony wants to get in on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless of Lego Horizon was successful on both platforms, um, through Sony and through some other developer publisher. Uh, I think Sony's just like, well, we do good, kind of good sales with MLB The Show, because that's through the MLB. Um, Lego Horizon seemed to do kind of well. So like, what else can we bring to their console? I think I think Sony and Microsoft was looking at Nintendo to be like, okay, we need to
It,
really put our games on there. If Switch
it
2 becomes successful,
it
yeah,
seems
go
like
ahead.
they could really benefit from, especially because, like, you know, Microsoft's whole thing is like, we're going to put our games everywhere, and Sony seems to be exploring that a little bit. I mean, less so than Microsoft, but like, you know, they're dumping their games on PC. And
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo's console, it being underpowered, kind of feels like the perfect dumping point for like older games, or like, you know, when the next Horizon comes out, like, here's the first game on, you know, relive Aloy's first adventure on the Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they could
Yeah,
totally do something like that, or like the Uncharted trilogy when the next game comes out, or, you know, it just seems like Nintendo's platform might be the perfect place for that, especially
yeah,
if you want people to be excited for your new game in the franchise. They don't have your console yet, right? And so they might be excited for that. If they already own a Switch or a Switch 2, like, you know, if um Uncharted 5 gets announced, they'll be like, "Oh, well, the Uncharted trilogy is coming to PC and Nintendo Switch 2," right? And that'll get people excited. And, you know, once, you know, if the game is like a year out or whatever, you drop those things on Switch 2, maybe they get excited and buy a PlayStation 5 for that.
mm-hmm.
And then what Sony could do to entice people to buy a console before those games drop is like, hey, PlayStation Plus extra tier and higher, you get the Uncharted trilogy and, you know, the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection on your for premium. And like, maybe those are already there. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to PlayStation Plus, but, you know, that would be like a really interesting marketing strategy, just so they, you know, oh man, I bought this game on Switch. I wish I had it on the console I just bought. Oh, I do if I subscribe to this tier. Okay, I'll just play them again. You know,
Right.
like, that would be such a interesting marketing experiment for them.
It's 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 actually being third party to Nintendo, in a sense, to make extra money.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, because it's been, because as much as Sony has been putting stuff on PC, they've been doing a good business with PC sales along with their console sales. Same thing with Microsoft doing a decent sales with PC, on PC with Windows and Steam, even through with Game Pass. Um, I think if if they could get their games on the Nintendo platform, on something that's more recognizable, then it's just like, that's good physical and digital pure profit sales for us,
Mm-hmm.
uh, while helping Nintendo and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you got the ROG Ally and Steam Deck and all of that verification, all of that stuff. But I'm just like, if people are still down for physical, or it has a SSD drive in it, and you could play, you could play the digital version and stuff. Um, if people want to really take that stuff on the go and not really have to worry about the battery life, because the battery life is good, we'll see when it comes out, when they talk about it, then nothing is going to be wrong with Microsoft and Sony being a third party to Nintendo and get their games on there. I mean, like, Sega did it on the GameCube. Of course, they were forced to do that, but Sega now is in a position that if they want to bring their old hardware back, they can and refine it. Like Sega could get back into being a first party publisher if they wanted to, but I think because of the business being good on all platforms, um, they like where they're standing at. Definitely with Sammy on merching with them or owning them, like
Mm-hmm.
um they're just like it takes a lot to get into the hardware space and be first party. We may not have the funds for it, but I'm like, we may get to a point where we may want to return to it
Mm-hmm.
and see how that goes.
Yeah.
While still putting stuff out for PlayStation, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
definitely with the ownership of Atlas.
Yeah. Well, you know, these there's going to be some interesting decisions being made over the next couple years. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm especially excited to see how Microsoft treats Nintendo's next console. Um, just because their whole marketing thing now is this is an Xbox, right? Which
Yeah.
is what they tried to do the first time, and the first thing you don't do is to have a negative connotation in your marketing campaign, which they did at some point, and I forget what it was even about, but it was like, um, the Xbox is not a box or something, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's whoever came up with that should be fired, right? Um, this is an Xbox is a great marketing campaign for them in their messaging, right? It took them 3
Yeah.
tries to get it, but they got there. It's a great marketing campaign for their message, and
And I can
uh,
understand why they would use the first one. This is
I,
this
yeah,
is not a box.
I understand. I understand as somebody who works in marketing, I understand what they're trying to say, but
Yeah.
that's not how you say it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is you got to go out and ask people to use their products to say this is an Xbox. So um, that's whatever. I'm interested to see if Nintendo shows up in that trailer at some point on the next year or 2 years or whatever. If they like have a partnership with Nintendo and say, hey, we'll
Hmm.
put your product in our ad, please.
I
um,
mean, like I always say, Xbox could have, I think, a bigger reach definitely in Japan. So I think that's why they probably would go out and be like, yeah, we still got our Xbox hardware, but I'm like, if we could get our subscription based service on Nintendo hardware, it's not taking nothing away from you guys. Like it's
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
lot of people to um play games, a variety of games, and if you feel like, I'm like, we can help you guys have a stronger cloud presence
yeah. But
in gaming.
I think Xbox's cadence of games now, it's going to benefit them to like if they want to stay in the hardware space.
Hmm.
I think it benefits them greatly to keep Game Pass on the Xbox
Yeah,
boxes and PC and sell their games on the other platforms, because like if you start putting your games out and people want your games on the other platforms and they start spending $70, $70, $50, $60, and Game Pass is, you know, $20 a month instead of, paying $70 every 4 to 6 weeks, like
yeah,
that's a good value for the consumer, and be like, oh, maybe I should invest in a Series S or that whatever their handheld's going to be, or I like my PlayStation 5 Pro. Maybe I should get a Series X because I like top tier graphics or whatever. And
yeah,
maybe they go invest in that in Game Pass, and then that just becomes their Game Pass box, which a lot of people did this generation, right? A lot of people
yeah,
bought an Xbox as their Game Pass machine, and that is good and bad for Microsoft because like nobody's buying game. Like we've talked about it before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, and this is a Nintendo podcast, right? But like
yeah,
Microsoft's ecosystem has taught players how to not purchase games. You know, They are a subscription service. Microsoft has always been about subscription services, right?
Yes.
With Office and Outlook and 365 and all that garbage. And they just turn games into a subscription service, which is what they're good at. But it's not benefiting the developers. And, I think for indies, it was for a while for discoverability, and they were getting while Microsoft wasn't putting out games, they needed to fill Game Pass with content. So they went out and got all these great indie games, and
Yeah.
it helped them with discoverability, right? But like, how many times did I tell you I found a great indie game on Xbox? I'm buying it on Switch.
Yeah.
How many times have I said that, right? And that's not something. I mean, that company got my sale anyway, but like, how many people? It's probably like 1 in 10 people are like, oh, I discovered a game on Xbox, I'm going to go buy it on the other platform, instead of like, oh, I already subscribed to this service, I get to play it for free, right? Like 9 times out of 10, you're not going to spend the money when you can get it with your subscription, right? So
I think that I always wonder about that phrasing. People say that they are playing these games for free, even though they're going to do a subscription service.
I
And
mean,
I
I
always
think it's just like it's just a thing, right? Like, you
a
don't
thing.
think, like,
Okay.
when your subscription is reoccurring on your credit card or your debit card
Yeah.
or whatever, and you just don't think about it, right? It's just an expense that you have already subconsciously taken out of your account because you just
Yeah.
pay it every month, like your internet and your water and whatever, and Netflix, and it's just another subscription that you pay for. And I think that is just, I get to play it for free because I already counted for this money because it's already gone. So, I I know it's kind of annoying because you technically are paying for it, but it's a
You're
lot easier to
using the
say.
subscription.
It's
You're
a lot
using the
easier to say
service.
I get to play this for free instead of I get to play this because I subscribe to this and it's part of this service, and I'm at this tier, because Xbox has
Mm.
tiers now, just like PlayStation. Anyways, it would be nice if Xbox started putting some nice new games on the Switch too as launch titles. Which
I think my.
I
Oh,
think
go ahead.
depending on what the launch title is for the next Switch, which
Mm-hmm.
probably a Mario game, maybe that Donkey Kong game they've been kind of
Internet.
teasing, but I think Hi-Fi Rush would be a killer launch title for the next
Oh
console.
yeah. Yeah.
You put Hi-Fi Rush on there with maybe Psychonauts 2 and a Mario game, like, man, and then like have that cross generation Metroid Prime 4 Beyond be your big shooter.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I,
you got to
and,
line
and
up.
and that I think that's why when it comes to Microsoft, I think ZeniMax just in total, just in general, would their games would be the
Mhm.
things to put on their console, because
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
you
even though
get you
yes,
get that rumored Fallout 3 or New Vegas remaster on there. You get the Skyrim's already on there, I guess. But like,
mm,
I mean, there Bethesda has a whole lineup of games that could be on the Switch or are already on there. I mean, Doom Eternal's already on there. Doom's on there. Wolfenstein
yeah,
2 and Youngblood. Like, maybe you do some magic to get Doom the Dark Ages on there, right? If it's running on Series S, it could probably run on this new system, right?
and I think if possible, then this is definitely with um what's the star game for Microsoft,
Starfield.
Starfield. Like, if they even could get Starfield, because the thing about it would be like, okay, we talked to
Well,
Nintendo, we exclusively got Fox McCloud and his team in Starfield, like using the ship and like
mhm.
and everything.
Well,
Like,
you know what games would be really beneficial for that for Switch 2 actually, if their online functions would be Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls
yeah,
Online,
oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. And you put Halo the Master Chief Collection on there too. Just saying.
I
Maybe,
mean,
maybe some Gears on there. Put Destiny
I
on there.
And not well. Well, I think the thing about it is definitely with Switch 2, whether it's a digital or just a physical version, I think people are willing to pay for it. And I know the idea can be like, well, why do I need an Xbox? I'm like, you still need an Xbox to get the experience or even maybe a higher quality experience. But I'm like, they're issuing their catalog for people who may not have been interested on playing that genre of game on the Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And Nintendo is the substitute to be like, okay, you like the genre, you may have been interested. Okay, you didn't like our playing on our system. Well, play it here. If it
Yeah.
runs good and you enjoy it, um, and you're paying the money out for it, cool,
Yeah.
awesome. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're building your library by purchasing this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Microsoft is going to get their cut. And it's going to because I think it's really going to show. I think ZeniMax at the time before they got purchased by Microsoft, definitely with Bethesda, I think they probably would have been on the up and up if they stayed the way that they were and was putting multiple games on multiple consoles like with Sony and Nintendo, still doing
Mhm.
PC. I think
Yeah.
they would have been on the up and up because they seen it with Elder Scrolls and they seen it with Wolfenstein. They seen it with Doom. They seen the success of those games being on Switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think Microsoft is gonna. I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna find out that. I think. I think the biggest surprise. I think people are going to be really surprised that PlayStation is going to take this console too. And I know like they're going to have their own handheld probably at some point,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. But I think like the handheld's going to be for their newer games, and they could totally put like a God of War trilogy on the Switch or Uncharted or even the first like The Last of Us remastered, not necessarily the remake of part 1, but like, the PS4 version or I think they could totally do a bunch of things, which I'm
I'm
excited to see.
I'm thinking of that paintbrush game that Sony did.
Concrete
Uh
Genie.
Concrete Genie, like stuff like that dropping on
Yeah,
Switch.
or like
With
that or like Medieval, that Medieval
mm-hmm,
remake or
yeah,
um I mean, even stuff like Sackboy's Big Adventure, or
I
these
think
these
like
little kid games that didn't really do well because
doing
PlayStation is kind of like the quote unquote adult console. Like, put it on a platform that kids go like migrate to, right? Like, I mean,
actually I
I know
would
I know like Switch isn't just for kids, but like that's the console that parents get their kids, right? Is the Switch Lite, and then they can go
yeah.
like do
And
whatever with it.
and Switch could be the artsy or art house. Sorry about it, art house of games. So like
Hmm.
Sony could put Eco, Shadow of the
Yeah,
Colossus, The Last
stuff like
Guardian.
that.
Like you could put stuff on there because I'm like, dude, those games, like if it's getting ignored or on your own console, someone's gonna eat it up on Nintendo's platform.
Hmm.
Definitely if it's running well. Like
Yeah.
The Last Guardian, if they fix some things and got it running at a better frame rate or a little smoother here and there, people will be like, okay, I'm going to give this game a try. And they may definitely enjoy it there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because I think Sony's just gonna be like, okay, we got Marathon on everything besides Nintendo. Maybe we should do a trial run and see how it goes.
Hmm.
That it's a possibility, you
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like I think some like their smaller games, or even smaller franchises that haven't um been around from first party Sony game developers and publishers or developers I should say. A lot of those games I think could do well on Nintendo's next platform. I think, and I think everybody's just been like, well, why won't Nintendo put their stuff on other platforms? I'm like, at this point in time, the other systems, the other consoles need their games to sell, and not the other way around. Like Nintendo is selling their games physically and digitally. They're doing numbers.
Yeah.
Microsoft and Sony wants to do those same numbers from their first party stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way if you could get it? You know, like I said, I'm like, with Microsoft and Sony, they need multi consoles um to
Yeah, I
in
mean,
order to sell.
yeah, their whole thing is they're over budget. Like the games are over budget. I mean, we just talked about that with PlayStation's intergalactic IP that they just announced,
Yeah.
right? Like they're I swear that they are just gonna start pumping these games full of sponsorships like Porsche and Adidas and stuff
Yeah.
like that because they need to pay for the games, to develop the games. You know, like that's you're getting into some dangerous territory, and then like you're talking about, well, what if those licenses expire? Like, do you pull those games down? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what happens when those contracts run out? Or did they say, hey, we need this in perpetuity so we don't ever have to take this game down? Or what if Adidas goes out of business suddenly one day and like, oh, well, the person who had the buyout now has this contract. How do we deal with that? You know, there's so
Yeah.
many things that could go sideways with these things. And like, I'm not saying they're bad because they're not, but like, I don't know, man. I'm just they're treading some dangerous water. And we talk about Nintendo, people have made fun of Nintendo for decades at this point of being underpowered. It's only a games machine. It doesn't have a DVD player in it. It doesn't have that Blu-ray player in it. Oh, it's going back to cartridges. Nintendo has been playing the long game, and it's been super beneficial for them,
Yeah.
financially. And they've proven that you can play great games that aren't pushing the boundaries of graphics. Granted, would I love to see Zelda look like Horizon or, God of War someday? Heck yeah, I would love to see a awesome, $300 million Zelda game. But we know Nintendo's probably never going to do that, and that's okay because look at the experiences we have gotten from them. Breath of the Wild
Right.
is one of the most amazing games, if not the most amazing game of all time. Right? It's my favorite. I still think about we talk about this probably weekly. I think about Breath of the Wild at least once a day, probably. What's the last game you can think of that you thought that?
Oh shoot.
Twilight Princess
Um.
for me, maybe. Destiny. I
I'm.
mean Destiny, but like that's a different beast because they want you to think about it every day.
I mean, like, so mine kind of is gonna be non Nintendo because I'm like, I think Breath. I'm saying I'm with you with Corey with Breath, and I think even that's why when I talk a lot about Tears, and I still think
Hmm.
how I feel about Tears is, I think it's an improvement on Breath, and it would probably be my number one. I'm just like, man, for a game to even for a game to start be in engineering classes in college, like
Hmm.
that's a big thing. But like I think about Titanfall too.
Hmm.
Like, and everybody knows how I feel about EA. I'm just like, Respawn made actually a first person shooter that anybody can love if they gave it a chance. I'm like, strong, like the narrative is strong, gameplay is so good, graphics look amazing, level design is bunkers good, and it's just like, man, Titanfall 2, it put first person shooters, it took first person shooters for me to a whole new level. Um and Metro, and even with Metro Prime just like, this is how you take first person shooter perspective but make it as a adventure game. I still talk a lot, still to this very day, talk about the Tomb Raider minor series. Like Shadow is great, but still talk about Rise of the Tomb Raider still to this day. Like, and that's just like the non-Nintendo stuff. But like for Nintendo themselves, man, like Tears of the Kingdom, I'm always talking about. Um, Super Mario 3D World, I'm always talking about. Bayonetta 2, I keep talking about and everything. And it's just like that doesn't even focus on Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Kart 8 on Wii U and Switch. Like all of these games, and then like Super Metroid and Metroid Dread, Metroid Zero Mission, um, like Fire Emblem Three Houses, Fire Emblem Three Hope, like Three Houses alone. Even after Awakening, Three Houses is became the top tier game of the Fire Emblem franchise. That got everybody into strategy games in a sense, and that people still talk about and go back and play.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Games are fun, man.
Yeah. Well, Corey, how about we wrap it up there?
That's probably a good place to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, our last episode of the year of 2024.
Get your votes in for Game of the Year.
Yes.
The votes are going out. The forums are going out on social media. They're in our Discord. I'll probably put them in the show notes of this show and the Boss Rush podcast. You can also find it pinned in on Patreon. It's all over. So get your votes in. We want all of you to vote. We want all of your votes to count. And
yes,
voting will go on through probably Christmas, I would say. That'll give everybody 2.5 weeks to vote, I think. So
probably like the 27th, that Friday.
Yeah, probably that Friday. That way I can kind of wrap up the bossies because I'll have to see who wins so I can finish the video.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I think there's a really interesting list that went out this year. So go vote, go check it out. I'm not shocked to see what's winning for Game of the Year. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm in a way I'm not shocked, and I think it's hilarious. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Well, everybody, I won't know nothing until January 20th when I watch it with everybody.
Nope, 16th.
Hopefully, the 16th. I thought it was the 20th of December, January.
16th. Come on, Ed. Look at the ad.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'm probably thinking of 20th because of this month.
Here's what it is. The pre-show starts at 8:30 Eastern on January 16th p.m. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. 5:30 Pacific. The main show starts at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Eastern. 6 o'clock Pacific. Time zones. And judging by my template, give or take about 15 minutes either way, the show in its entirety will be probably about 2 hours.
Okay.
So, and it'll all be on demand, and I'll make sure all the clips are out and everything. So,
Yes. Well, everybody, that's gonna be it for Nintendo Pow Block. Go check us out at bossrush.net for all our writings. Check out our YouTube page, Boss Rush Media. Check out our Discord also at Boss Rush Boss Rush Network. For our Discord, follow us on. I guess you can still follow us on X and follow us on Blue Sky. And everybody have a great weekend. Have a great holiday, Christmas, Kwanzaa. If you celebrate it, I think it is what's the Jewish holiday? Why can I not think about it? Hanukkah.
It starts on Christmas Day.
Okay. I'm sorry. My mind is just like
dude, it's 2:00 in the morning. I get it. I'm tired. We're all tired.
Hanukkah, yeah. Everybody do go enjoy that. Yeah, and go, like Corey said, go and vote for the bossies who would get a boss key. Is up to you guys and gals, up to the players. So
power to the players. I think
was that a Nintendo?
No, it's a game. It's the GameStop slogan.
Oh, okay. Now you're playing with power. It's Nintendo. I probably should do a top 10 catchphrase for Nintendo.
We're not doing it right now, man.
It'd be a written thing.
I want to say one thing before we get out of here. It'll be quick. I think this is, we've been tossing around that bonus show idea. I think that what we did tonight needs to be what our bonus show is. Just this
free-form discussion.
Yeah. All right. It's bedtime.
Everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next time on Nintendo Pow Block. Bye, everybody. Woohoo!
Bye. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you in a couple weeks.
Yes.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.